Hi, my name is Jason Marcaselli of On Your Mark Fitness, and today I'm going to show you two different techniques for self-myofascial release using the foam roll and also a softball. Some of you may have already been familiar with using the foam roll or doing self-myofascial release. Basically, it's just a tool to help us get the muscle to its optimal length and tension. All muscles have an optimal length and tension that they want to be at to perform optimally. So they don't want to be too short and tight. They don't want to be too long either. So we want to use the foam roll to help us find that balance. So the first technique I'm going to show you with the foam roll is fairly simple. It's one that if you are familiar with self-myofascial release, you probably have used this. So what you do want to do is you want to start at the point furthest from your torso on your hamstring, which is the muscle in the back of the leg. So I'm going to start just behind my knee where the hamstring inserts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit up nice and tall, and I'm going to roll down till I find a point where there's a little bit of tenderness, or what's called a trigger point. And I don't feel anything, but I'll just pretend for example purposes that I feel one right about there. So what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to hold on that position for 30 seconds to 2 minutes. If I need a little bit more pressure, I'm just going to simply cross the other leg over, and that puts a little bit more weight, and I'll just sit there. And what I'll do is I'll hold that position for 30 seconds to 2 minutes, or until that trigger point or tenderness starts to decrease. Now sometimes, because the hamstring is a pretty thick muscle, the foam roll doesn't give you enough square inch pressure. So that's where I'll use a lacrosse ball or a softball, and I'll do the same thing. I'll find that point at the furthest away from my torso. I will sit up tall, and I will try to find that trigger point. For purposes, I'll pretend I find it there. I'm going to simply cross the leg over, and I'm going to hold that position for 30 seconds to 2 minutes until that muscle and tenderness starts to decrease. Now, sometimes people feel like when they do the foam roll, I know with some of my clients, they feel like when they roll over certain parts of their body that they're not really getting the effect that they really want. Even though they do feel some tenderness in there, they don't get the relief that they want. I just recently came across a different protocol doing self-myofascial release, where instead of holding 30 seconds to 2 minutes, you will hold for 5 seconds and then release that muscle for 2 to 3 seconds and back on. So again, very simple. Sit up tall, start at the furthest point from your torso, and work your way up the muscle till you find that trigger point. I'll just say, okay, yep, there's a good trigger point right there. Sit up tall. Now I'm going to put some pressure on there, and I'm going to hold 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. I'm just going to simply take the pressure off for 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, a 3 count of 3 Mississippi, and once again I'm going to reapply that pressure for 5 seconds and relax for 3. And what you'll do is you'll continue in that fashion until you get the same desired effect of that trigger point, that tenderness or pain that goes down on a scale of like 1 to 10. If 10 was very painful, or even 8, over the course of that protocol, the tenderness of that muscle should start to come down and relax. And that's a good time to stop. So I showed you 2 different ways of using the foam roll and a softball for a little bit more pinpoint